Tonight, we're going to have just a single part, one-off message entitled Restart, because the school year has just begun. You guys have survived the first 3 days, and you may find yourself, kind of like we are in my house, struggling a bit to restart some routines that you've done before, that you did consistently last year, but you haven't done for like 3 months, right? You've kind of had different routines and different wake-up times and no bedtime, right? Just like till like 5 a.m., whatever silly time you want to stay up. And so maybe you're struggling a bit these first few days to restart some routines. And this is no one's first year of school, right? Nobody's first year of school. You've all been in school before. Maybe it's your first year at a new school. So if you're a freshman, it's your first year in a new school. Maybe you just moved here and it's your first year in school here in Florida. Maybe it's something is new about it for you, but you've done school before, right? And a lot of what you're doing, this is your first year in school at the age that you are, in the grade that you are, that's new. But a lot of what you've been experiencing this week is familiar, perhaps painfully familiar, right? You're like, not again. I try to block this out, but here it comes again. And you're experiencing something that you've done before that you now have to do again, and you have to try to do it again with like fresh passion and excitement, as if it's not old news, as if it's something new. And I want to tell you something, this is not something that just happens in your life for school. In fact, as you grow up, and some of you are getting ready to graduate, as you go through life, there are countless opportunities and occasions to restart, to have to do it again, to have to go through the motions again and to do it differently or better the next time. And as we restart a new school year, what I want to consider is how do we start this year, not just like all the other years, but restart it with a fresh love for Jesus, a fresh love for the people around us, and a renewed excitement for following Jesus. Now, if you're a Christian in the room, hopefully that's on your radar, that you want to be able to do life with passion, and you want following Jesus to be a big part of that, and you want to be better at following Jesus. If you're in the room and you're not a Christian or you're not sure, I'm so glad that you're here. This is like the perfect place for you to discover what it really looks like to follow Jesus, so you can figure out how to restart seasons in your life and have Jesus be a part of it. So how do we go into a new season, another season, and restart it with fresh passion for Jesus? Well, here's the first thing I want you to do. I want us all to acknowledge the drift. What do I mean by that? We need to acknowledge the fact that there's drift in life, that as we live, we drift. We don't stay exactly where we always were, right? And here's what you've learned, if you've been alive even for a minute, but especially being a high schooler, you've learned that life does not accidentally drift toward positivity, toward hope, toward faith, or toward good choices. You don't get there by accident. Life doesn't drift toward being a super consistent, passionate believer who loves reading the Bible and can't wait to obey what the Bible says. It doesn't accidentally drift there. In fact, it's the opposite. You've experienced this, right? In life, we are constantly pulled toward indifference, toward negativity, toward doubt, toward depression, toward complacency, anxiety, and selfishness. There's a drift, and we just have to acknowledge the drift. We can't just pretend that living life every day and doing nothing different adds up to a closer relationship with Jesus. It doesn't. There's a drift. In fact, in the book of Revelation, I know a lot of people don't read Revelation because it's got some hard to understand things in it, but in the first couple chapters, it's really just Jesus telling John the Revelator, to write some letters to some churches to reveal his heart. In fact, if you look, the title is really not just Revelation. It's actually the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's what Jesus wants to say to us. And in the second chapter of Revelation, Jesus is speaking to the church at Ephesus, and he begins with good things. He's like, you guys are doing great. Like, I see all your hard work. You're doing awesome. But then he kind of turns a corner in verse 4, and look what he says. He says, but I have this against you. You have abandoned the love you had at first. So Jesus is basically like, you guys are doing good things. There's good stuff going on. I see what you're doing, but I've also noticed that you don't have the same love for me that you used to have. There's been a drift. You've drifted a little bit. And what does he say in the next verse? In verse 5, he says, remember then how far you've fallen, repent, and do the works you did when? At first. Jesus is like, hey, you have to just acknowledge the drift and come back. You're doing some good things. I'm not saying that everything's bad, but there's been some drift. You don't have the same love that you used to have for me. You're not as passionate as you used to be. And so I'm just inviting you to acknowledge, see how far you've fallen, and come back and do what you were doing before. Come back to your first love. There's been a drift. There's a drift in all of our lives. It's natural. In fact, I have a not so spiritual example of this. All of us now have smartphones of some kind, right? An iPhone or something lesser, similar. And I'm old enough to remember when the iPhone was invented. How many of you were born after the year 2007? Okay, a few of you, so you're making me feel old. So the first iPhone came out in the year 2007, and I actually remember, because I'm this kind of nerd, watching the entire keynote speech that Steve Jobs, rest in peace, gave about the first iPhone. And I want to show a short clip of what it looked like when Steve Jobs announced the first iPhone. Watch this.
Songs, videos, and more. I'm an artist right now. Well, how do I scroll through my list of artists? How do I do this? I just take my finger and I scroll. That's it. Isn't that cool?
And the crowd goes wild, and all of you are like, what's the big deal? So you all were either born after or you were so young when the iPhone came out that you don't know a world without these kind of screens. But the fact is, before the iPhone, there were some touch screens, but they were like you could touch this spot only on the screen, and you could just push a button. There was no swiping. There was not multi-touch. This really was magical when it first came out. Everybody was, you heard the crowd, they're like, you swiped the screen. It's amazing. And this is a silly, non-spiritual example of how something that was once revolutionary and mind-blowing is now commonplace and unimpressive. We're so unimpressed with our phones. We're like, I hate my phone. It's so slow. I need a new phone, right? We're so unimpressed. And it used to be like, this is so crazy, I can't believe it. And now it's just a common thing that everybody has. And the same can be true in our lives of faith. Maybe there was a point in which you were like, I can't believe Jesus saved me. I know how messed up I am and he loves me. And it blew your mind. And now it's just like, meh. It's so common. It doesn't blow your mind anymore. It doesn't floor you. It doesn't make you stop and think because there's drift in life. We all drift from our first love. And what you used to be passionate about, you might not be passionate about anymore, but we have to acknowledge that drift and cultivate within ourselves a desire to restart, to renew our awe and our love and our wonder for God. That's what David did. Look at what David writes in Psalm 51, verse 10. He says, God, create a clean heart for me and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Look what he says here. Restore the joy of your salvation to me and sustain me by giving me a willing spirit. Basically, David here is acknowledging the drift. He's like, God, I had a close relationship with you. I've made so many mistakes. I'm so far from you. I'm just asking, don't cast me away. Don't banish me. Don't throw me aside. Don't take your spirit from me. In fact, if you could renew me, give me a new heart. And I'm asking for you to give me that joy that I used to have when I thought about salvation, that joy I used to have when I thought about God, that excitement when I used to think about faith. Help me get that back. This is the heart that we need to have. If you're a current follower of Jesus, if you're curious about faith, if you've been a Christian your whole life, this is the heart that we need to have to acknowledge the fact that as we live, we drift. As we live, our heart moves. As we live, we get complacent. As we live, things that once blew our mind no longer do. And we have to be the ones that decide to renew that and to begin again, to restart and have a fresh passion about our faith. And here's why this matters so much. Because finding joy and meaning in life, which is what we all want, right? Like, is there anybody like, no, don't want joy, don't want meaning? No, we all want a meaningful life, a life that brings us joy. And finding joy and meaning in life, it relies on our ability to restart. What do I mean by that? Again, we're given so many opportunities to restart. We have so many times that we need to begin again. We have so many things that maybe pull us away from what we know we should be doing. And the ability to restart is the key to us finding a life of meaning and a life of joy and satisfaction. That we're able to restart with God, with ourselves, with others. There's going to be times that we realize our faith isn't where it should be and we have to restart. There's going to be times that we realize we are not as we should be and we got to work on some stuff and begin again in some areas in our heart. There's going to be times that we realize that we're not where we're supposed to be with somebody else. That maybe we've crossed a line somewhere in a relationship or we've messed up a relationship. And the ability to restart, the ability to continue to live life and do the same things but do them better and differently. That's what it means to restart, and that is the key to actually finding meaning in life. And there's really three main areas that I want to focus on tonight that I think we need to learn to restart, and it's with our faith, with ourselves, and with others. And so the first is that we want to re-engage with our faith. This is what it means to restart in our faith. It's to re-engage. It's to say, hey, maybe I'm going through the motions. I'm here at Bridge Students. Maybe you're showing up on Sundays. Maybe you're doing some Christian things. You're like, I'm doing some of it. I'm not that bad. But if you're honest, you're not engaged with your faith. Like it's not right there anymore. You like could take it or leave it. You're not really excited about it. You kind of roll your eyes when you think about it. You find every excuse to avoid reading the Bible because it's just not a passion. And maybe that's what you need to restart. Maybe you need to have the ability to assess where you're at with your faith and say, I need to re-engage. I need to spend some more time in God's presence. I need to put on some worship music more instead of that other music. I need to open up my Bible more instead of that social media app. I need to make some choices that are going to re-engage my heart with my faith. Or another thing that we might need to restart is that we need to reassess within ourselves. That's what it means to restart with yourself. It's a reassessment. That maybe you've just been going through life and it's been going a million miles a minute, especially with high school and school starting back and all the things. And maybe you're thinking about college and you're trying to figure out work and all these things are happening. You're just going and you're going and you're going. And if you were honest, if you slowed down long enough, you know that things aren't actually right in here, but that's why you don't slow down, right? You don't want to think about that. You know you're not exactly who you used to be. In fact, some people say that you're different and you hate when people say it, right? Something's different about you. You okay? Like, leave me alone. And you know that there's something going on, that maybe something is broken or not quite right inside, but you just don't want to deal with it. Listen, your ability to restart, to reassess within yourself, to do what very few people do, and to slow down and look inside and say, what is happening in here that I need to work on? That's what most people don't do. And your ability to restart with yourself, to reassess within yourself, it's a key that unlocks deeper meaning and joy in life. And maybe that's your restart. Maybe for you it's re-engaging with your faith. Maybe for others it's a reassessment, what's actually going on in here. And thirdly, what it means with others is to reconnect with others. To reconnect with others. That maybe even might be connected to the first two, that because you've drifted on faith and because you've avoided stuff in your own heart, you've just started to push away from other people. And you've isolated yourself. And it's super easy to be isolated. And maybe you just went through a crazy season over the summer because your natural rhythms of being forced to be around people stopped for 3 months and you spent all this time in your bed on TikTok all alone and you're just not connected. And I know that you live in a generation and a culture that tells you that's normal and okay, but it's not healthy. We need each other and other people need you. We need to live in community. And maybe your version of restarting is reconnecting with others, of looking up while you're in school, taking your earbuds out, looking people in the eye, meeting people, talking to people, sharing your faith, reconnecting with good, godly people who will push you toward Jesus. And our ability to do these things, to re-engage with our faith, to reassess within ourselves, to reconnect with others, it is the key to finding a life of joy and meaning and peace, not just now in high school, but as you go through life. We have to constantly restart. Life gives you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to do it again and do it better this time, to restart. And this is through the mess and the process, the mania and the monotony. That's how I like to say it. Because here's what life has: two polar opposites. It's got the mess and it's got the process. We all have messy stuff, right? We're like, I didn't expect that. Whoa, what was that? And you get caught off guard by the mess, the mania. And you got to figure out how to deal with that and react to that. But then we also have the process, the monotony, the stuff you just have to do. You got to get up at 6 o'clock. You got to get in the shower, hopefully. You got to go to school on time. You got to do your homework. You got to do all these things. Maybe you have chores is that still a thing? Chores at home? I don't think it is with kids anymore. You got to do the things, right? You've got the crazy stuff and you've got the boring stuff. And we need to be able to restart to survive both of them. And I'm telling you that as you get older and you leave school, there's just more mess and more process, more mania, more monotony. There's more of it. It doesn't stop. And all of those things give you more and more opportunities to restart. And being able to restart makes all the difference. And here's really why we have to restart. Following Jesus, it means saying yes over and over again. Depending on how you grew up, what you thought about church, you might have thought that following Jesus was one yes. Yeah, I prayed a prayer. I said yes. But it's not one yes. Following Jesus is a series of yeses. Daily, sometimes hourly, that we again and again, over and over again, offer him our yes. We say yes again, yes again, yes again. That's what it means to follow Jesus. That yes, you said yes at one point, most of you. But now that you're going into a new school year, facing new challenges with a new friend group, maybe you got to say yes again. Now that you've made that mistake and done that thing that you knew you shouldn't have done, maybe you got to just come back again, restart, and say yes again. That's what it means to follow Jesus. And my challenge to you tonight as we get ready to pray and close and go into small group is simply this. I want to challenge you to offer Jesus, your yes again today. Now, for some of you, we could take out again, and it could just be offer Jesus your yes today, because maybe you've never said yes to Jesus. Maybe you've been in church your entire life, but you've never actually had that moment. I had a conversation with a student at summer camp about, because he made a decision and he wasn't quite sure what did I just do, and because he's been in church his whole life. And I was like, hey, has there ever been a point, there ever been a moment in your life where you actually said out loud, Jesus, I need you, I surrender, and I want you to lead me and be my Lord? He's like, no. I'm like, well, then you just did that today. Congratulations. And you could be in church your entire life, but never have actually said yes. And for some of you, it's not again. It's just offer Jesus your yes today. You know, Paul was writing in the book of Romans, and he said, I encourage you to offer yourself as a living sacrifice. What does that mean? It means just again and again and again. It's yes, yes, yes. I will live to sacrifice and give myself away for you, Jesus, whatever you want. Yes, again. But there has to be a first one. And the most beautiful thing is that we love God because he first loved us. That's what John wrote in the book of 1 John. That our yes is actually a response to his yes. He said yes to us first. He looked at us in all of our mess, all of our mistakes, our broken state, and he goes, yes, I'll die for you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I'll take your punishment. Yes, I'll take your place. Yes, I'll call you mine. Yes, I'll adopt you. Yes, you're in my family. He gave his yes first, and our yes is a response to his. And I just want to challenge you. Say yes to Jesus today. Stop trying to do it on your own. Start with him, or if you already have, offer him your yes again today. Renew that. Restart at the beginning of this school year. Restart in your faith with fresh passion and a new love for Jesus. Yeah, last year maybe didn't go the way you wanted it to. Yeah, maybe over the summer you drifted a bit. Yeah, I get it. You made that mistake and you still feel guilty about it. But you have an opportunity every day, but certainly at moments like this, to restart, to begin again. To decide to offer Jesus your yes again.